Wow, that's the lens.
We just turn people away. I can set up the video here. Do that. Yeah, that's easy. I just told Carol it can't work. I hope he was getting camera.
I'll put up chairs.
Just need a key to get in there.
Carol was saying it's not.
The guy at the door said they were allowed to stand in there.
We can open the door. The door, I think, is to the chair room. Just you can wheel a few stacks up. They can help themselves.
Just taking a little bit of time to get everybody in. Don't send anyone away. I guess it doesn't matter to those of you who've got a seat. You're the lucky ones. But people are coming in and they will sort of stand in the welcoming space to be able to broadcast the audio, but not the video. So just bear with us for a few minutes, please.
We're working on the video too.
Oh, we're working on the video, so the man said. Okay. You're not in a hurry tonight, are you?
It's going to get worse.
Just gathering all the troops now. Hallelujah. Yes. a couple, huh?
Oh, they have 500 apartments.
You know, I went by, I heard say that, I went by.
Hello again. Candidates, would you like to return your seat, please? I've never seen a crowd as big as this for an awful long time. But I'd like to welcome everybody. I'm Peter Thompson on behalf of the Edmond and Leffe Catalana Community Association. Welcome to this municipal election all candidates meeting. I would like to thank the Reverend Will Sparks and Highlands United Church for hosting this very important public meeting, as you can see. A special thanks to Carol Smith, who organized all the seating, and to Doug Irwin, who's at the top there, for setting up and managing the audio system. I hope it just keeps working. It's good. I would like to take an opportunity to thank previous council members who are not running this year for their significant service to our community. Doug McKay, Roger Basson, Richard Walton, and to our candidates. And to our candidates for this election, thank you for offering to serve our community. Just a couple of housekeeping matters. There, and there. And the washrooms are down there and down there. What else do I need? Oh, please take all your pamphlets with you. I know you've been collecting them, but it would be great if you would take them with you when you go this evening. One thing to the candidates, remember that the mics are generally live, or assume that the mics are generally live. And one other thing, just to let you know, everyone can't see, but this meeting is being, I don't know whether the right word is broadcast for it, but it's available, or will be available on YouTube after the meeting. It's not a live thing, but you will be able to see it on YouTube. We've been organizing all candidates meetings for all levels of government for about 25 years or more. And we have a tradition of courtesy to all points of view. I know you will continue that tradition this evening. Our moderator this evening is Stephen Peterson, and I'm pleased to introduce him and hand over the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Good evening, everybody. I'm Stephen Peterson, and I'm going to moderate the meeting tonight. I'd like to start by just touching on the agenda and what we can expect over the next couple of hours here. We're going to begin with opening statements. So beginning with the mayors in alphabetical order, each of the mayor candidates, each will receive 2 minutes, strictly 2 minutes, to make opening remarks. And then the other council candidates will also receive 2 minutes each to make their opening statements. When that round is done, there's going to be a round of prepared questions. Questions that have been prepared by the Edgemont Upper Capilano Community Association executive. There will be 1 question for each candidate. The candidates will have 1 minute to respond to these questions. And just to make it interesting, I don't think they know what the questions are yet, so they'll have to do some thinking on the fly. At that point, we're going to stop for an intermission, where we're going to take 5 minutes. And at that point, I brought my black hat with me, and some of you have cards or little pieces of paper that you received on the way in. If you write your name down on a piece of paper and come stick it in this hat, I will be drawing names from the hat. So if I draw your name, you can come and ask 1 question to 1 candidate, and they will have 1 minute to respond. So that will be the latter part of the evening. Also to make this interesting, the candidates have received 2 wild cards each. Now, the wild cards may be used during the questions that were prepared by the Community Association or during the questions that are asked by the public. So a candidate may use a wild card to have 1 minute to make a rebuttal or respond to the question that was asked. They can also use a wild card to add 1 minute to whatever they were saying. The wild cards cannot be used during the opening statements, and they can't be used right at the end. So please use them appropriately, candidates. And one more thing before we get going, we have a timekeeper just to keep things on track. We have a lot of candidates that we want to hear from tonight. So I'm going to ask you, no applause, no cheering, no jeering, just so we can get through the evening and we can get to some of the questions that you might have for these candidates. So we just want to try to keep this moving. So please, no applause. Just do it in your mind. I think that'll be just fine. Okay. So without further ado, let's go to the opening round of statements. We're going to go in alphabetical order, beginning with the mayoral candidates, beginning with Ash Amani.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you to our organizers for putting together tonight's event. Thank you to all of you for sharing your evening with us today. I want to acknowledge that we're gathered here on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people. My name is Ash Amani, and I cannot tell you how excited I am to be here in this community today. I live just down the road on Capilano Road. I've worked at Grouse Mountain, I've worked at the library across the street here when I went to school at UBC. This community is my home, and I'm the only resident and only candidate from the Capilano area out of all 23 of us here today. The district needs to do a better job of engaging with us, all of us. We're witnessing our community grow and evolve. We're concerned about the pace of construction and the disruptions it causes. The district must do better to coordinate projects and limit their impact on our businesses and our residents. The village needs to become more vibrant again. I want to see kids, seniors, families hanging out in our beautiful space. I'm a public health professional. My career is focused on building healthy and livable communities. I know how to bring people together to make tough decisions. That's a really important part of the meeting. My experience working in government, both at senior and in senior roles, both provincially and federally, have prepared me well for this role. I understand how governments work, and I serve on the district's Community Services Advisory Committee, which has helped me understand what challenges our community faces. I've been an active volunteer in the District of North Vancouver for over 16 years, both in the Smiley community and beyond. I love North Vancouver, the people who live here, and our mountain lifestyle. We know all the problems, we need solutions now. My team and I are ready with solutions that are long overdue. I'm really looking forward to talking to all of you tonight about them. Let's get the District of North Vancouver moving. My name is Ashley Lanning, and we'll from here on October 28th.
Thank you very much. And now, 2 minutes for Erez Barzilay.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Amazing. Affordability, transportation, pace of development. I live here long enough and witnessed enough around the globe to know we got a problem. This is not why we chose to live here. We need a change. We need a new direction. We need to slow down. We need to plan better. We need to publicly build only what is really needed. We need to build it in an affordable way, real affordability. We need more rental units. We need more family units, less market-priced units. We need development to keep pace with infrastructure. We need less cars on our bridges. We need more public transport, more buses, more shuttles, more express buses, more sea buses, taxis, B-lines, shared cars options, e-bikes, rapid transit. We need to give drivers more choices to leave their car behind. We need a government which is listening to the people, accountable and transparent. No more hidden agendas, no more public hearings during summer breaks and election campaigns, no more demo evictions. The environment and life safety, personal safety first. We need to work together collaboratively with every government, all of our neighbors, First Nations, developers, businesses, banks, financial institutions, community associations like yours and across the district to make this happen. It is possible, however, everyone has to pitch in. To do this, you must vote for the right people. Choose only the people that really want, can bring this change about. Thank you.
Thank you. And now 2 minutes for Mike Little.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Little. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. I'm a former 3-term councillor here with the District of North Vancouver, and my wife Kellyanne and I are raising our 4 children in the Parkgate neighborhood. Tonight I want to talk to you about my experience, and the experience is necessary to do a very difficult job, which is mayor. It's a very hard job to do. The experiences I bring to the table is I've served on over 15 community boards here in the District of North Vancouver, including I've been the chair, I'm currently the chair of the North Vancouver District Library Board. I've been the chair of the Heritage Commission. I've been on the Museum and Archives. I've been on the Recreation Commission. I've been on several bi- and tri-municipal organizations. I've chaired the North Shore Emergency Management Office, which handles disaster response planning throughout the North Shore. I've also worked on several regional committees. So I've been in Metro Vancouver's Environment and Parks, handling emissions regulations for industry in the Lower Mainland. Also on the committee, the Port Cities Committee, and I also serve on the Greater Vancouver Labor Relations Bureau, which is going to be a critically important experience for a mayor in this next round because we have QP negotiations coming next year. I'm not starting at zero there. I have several years of experience going into that negotiation, including being at the regional labor table through those discussions. I also served on the Advisory Committee for Disabilities Issues for 7 years, trying to make this community the most barrier-free community it can be, getting people around our community who have disabilities, as well as all of us benefit for it sometime. Anytime you have a broken leg or you need help getting through the door, the Advisory Committee on Disabilities Issues help to make the community as barrier-free as it could be. I'm here also tonight making a case for cooperation. The largest challenges we face as a community can be addressed if we work cooperatively between the city, the district, and West Vancouver. Once again, my name is Mike Little. I'm the only one up here with council experience, and I hope you'll seriously consider me on the 20th. Once again, think big, vote little. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now 2 minutes for Dennis Mascal.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. I am running for mayor. I don't have all the time, and a lot of you have. I've only lived or worked on the North Shore for 20 years. I offer you 4 different federal departments, totaling 28 years, including our CMP, Department of Communications, and Transport Canada. And within those, budget and project management. I think most of you can see what's wrong or it's not been occurring as we would like it. You'll hear it mentioned time and time again. I'm hoping that you take a hard look at some of the things presented to you. For instance, this in-step report. There are some things that are not quite right in there. It's a very good report. It was presented very well. But there are things that I would like to see, as I have said from the start, aerial TransLink, SkyTrain, I'd like to see that. That would be a while in coming. There are some pieces in the instep that would be good, such as B-trains. I think some of the major difficulties that I see is City Hall. A lot of the people in City Hall, they are ambivalent, and the strongest message we got from the city on all candidates was, you don't tell any bureaucrats, you don't tell anybody what they should be doing. So he's probably right, but if you want change, vote for me on October the 20th.
Thank you. And moving on for 2 minutes for Glenn Webb.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here this evening. I would like to begin this by thanking my competitors tonight. This is their last night together that we're going to be in this environment, so I want to thank you all for a great campaign. I think it's all been above the level, and I feel respected, and I hope you feel respected by me. I also want to address an issue that I know is out there. I am not in any way involved or related to Oliver Webb. We share the same last name, and he has 2 E's in his name, and I have 1. So I want to make that very clear before going further. Now, I want to tell you why I'm running for mayor, and it's a very personal reason. I'm concerned that my daughter, when she finishes university, will have no opportunity to move back to this community if she wants to. We are at risk of losing an entire generation of people, 20 to 40-year-olds. We call them the missing middle. And that is going to have a huge impact on our community. It's going to have a huge impact on the North Shore. Employers can't find staff. The people that we need to provide emergency service can't afford to live here. So in the case of a natural disaster, they may not be on the North Shore. Or school funding gets threatened when we lose kids. The global diversity of the community gets cut back if we don't have social and economic diversity. So I'm concerned that that generation is going to be lost. And that's why I support the official community plan that calls for the development of 4 planned smart communities, villages and town centers, which are going to provide an array of housing, affordable housing, rental housing, and market housing, so that we can bring back and we can keep our missing middle. So again, I want to thank you very much. On Saturday morning, when you go to vote, think Webb on October 20th. Thank you.
Thank you. And that wraps up the opening remarks for the mayoral candidates. And now on to the council candidates. Beginning with 2 minutes for Jordan Back.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jordan Back, and I'm running for council, and I'm so glad to be here tonight at Highlands Church. This is a building that actually is a very special place for me. My grandparents actually helped to fundraise to build this church, and I've spent a lot of time in this building, mostly singing, over the years. I also love Edgemont Village. It's one of my favorite areas of the district. I spent a few summers early on working at Capel Island Suspension Bridge. I'm a lifelong resident of this community. I currently live in Lynn Valley with my wife, Signy, and I'm deeply connected to it through business, having grown up in a family business and worked with many of the district businesses across the North Shore in my career in media sales. I've also been a lifelong community volunteer. For the past 16 years, I've been a volunteer director of the North Shore Triathlon. I volunteer regularly with North Shore Neighborhood House, and I've helped to raise thousands of dollars for other North Shore charities. There's no question that we are seeing a ton of construction across the district right now as our town and village centers are built out. And here in Edgemont Village, as one business owner reminded me early on in my campaign, there probably hasn't been a day in the last 5 years where there wasn't a flag person here out in the village. I think construction fatigue has certainly set in here, and I can understand and appreciate the effect this has had on the local businesses, as well as all of you in your day-to-day lives as residents. I think more could and probably should have been done to minimize the impact of this construction in Edgemont Village for all of you. At my very core, I love to listen, and I think that's an important quality. I also love to help others and work as part of a team, and these are the things that I want to take to a new council. Everyone up here tonight will talk about traffic congestion and housing affordability, and believe me, those issues are at the top of my list as well. But we must work together as a council and as a region to solve them. I also have other priorities though, and they include better care for our seniors, but better before and after school care for children, and taking community engagement to a whole new level. I also hope to be a strong voice for our local business community on District Council. I want to be known as someone who's a reasonable, progressive voice, and someone who listens to the whole community. My name is Jordan Back again. Thank you for coming tonight, and I look forward to speaking with you more throughout the evening.
Thank you. And now 2 minutes for Mitchell Baker.
Hi, my name is Mitchell Baker. I'm running for council. Smile now. Get it out of the way. Okay, so here we are on the precipice of another election. An election that promises, regardless of its outcome, change, regardless of its outcome. You see, our council has been divided for many years. It feels like us against them, a game that nobody here is winning. This divisiveness needs to end. This does not mean that we should be electing all like-minded people. We should be looking for a group that can work together but think differently. We have all heard about rapid transit and how it will not come here until our population grows dramatically. But why is it that the North Shore is the only one asking? Aren't these bridges loaded in both directions at both ends of the day? The Port Van was built, yet traffic backed up in one direction one time a day, or once at each end of the day. The bridge over the Capilano River has 165 accidents per year, and no one is talking about it. Why? Where's the link in TransLink? There is far more at stake than merely getting to work. The last time I checked, there was no skiing or suspension bridge in Vancouver, Richmond, Delta, etc. Our traffic is a regional problem. It affects us more here because of our geography. Affordable housing, market condo, purpose-built rental. We hear them all so much. If we become numb, a clear path needs to be cut. We need to ensure that our OCP is still a viable prospectus. Our council needs to represent us all. Buzzwords create noise, not solutions. Our community is ever evolving, where once it was just trees and any development was new and exciting, today new is sometimes a dirty word. We as a community need to be able to stand together. We as a council need to be able to stand each other. Great solutions come from people seeing the same problem with a different perspective. My perspective comes from a lifetime of radically diverse experience. My life has been bringing about ideas to reality, taking multiple visions to create a single collaborative outcome. This I endeavor to do as your councillor. My name is Mitchell Baker. I am asking for your support, and in return, you will have mine.
Thank you. And now 2 minutes for Matthew Bond.
Thank you. My name is Matthew Bond, and I'm running for re-election to maintain a rational, reasonable, and responsible voice on council. I'm a professional engineer with a decade of experience delivering complex transportation systems. With certificates in sustainable community development and next generation transportation, I understand how the cities work. For 6 years, I was the president of the North Shore Mountain Bike Association and know how to partner and collaborate. I have the vision, the education, and the experience necessary to guide our community through the critical challenges that face us. My wife and I chose North Vancouver as our home. It's the best community to raise our 2 adorable daughters who are 3 and 1. I am one of the missing middle, a young family, and deeply invested in the future of North Vancouver. I'm also gravely concerned by some of the rhetoric I've seen and heard during this election period. While it may be politically convenient to blame everything on the current council, decisions made by council take years, if not decades, to have an effect. And that's why solutions are so important and urgently needed now. The struggles we face today are the result of previous councils And since information and facts are important to me and critical to good decisions, I wanted to set some of the record straight. So if you're frustrated, and I know many in the room are, and think that there's too much construction, I voted in favor of fewer homes per year than the annual target in the official community plan. If you're concerned about family-sized apartments and townhomes, over 30% of the homes that I voted in favor for are 3 and 4 bedrooms. Previous council, only 14%. If you're concerned about affordable housing, I voted in favor as twice as many affordable homes as the previous council. Councillor Hanson and I have been the strongest advocates on using district-owned lands to build affordable homes, and unfortunately, we've missed out on not 1, not 2, but 3 rounds of federal funding. We need to move forward on October 20th, vote for MacPom.
Thank you. And now, 2 minutes for Megan Curran.
Hi everybody, I'm Megan Curran and I am an independent candidate for council, and this is about the time of evening where you wish your printer worked so that you could print out what you were going to talk about. But since it didn't, I'm going to wing it. Sorry, Lisa. So people walking throughout Edgemont often ask me what are my top things, what am I all about, and walking throughout the municipality. And what I'm most passionate about is protecting small business, protecting existing residents, and my number one is the environment. I feel like the environment absolutely needs to be everyone's priority, but on a municipal level, I feel like there are a lot of policies that we can implement that would make us a lot stronger. I've got lots of ideas about what those are on my website. A little bit about me: my husband and rescue dog and I moved from the Sugar Maples of Vermont to the mountains in Deep Cove 15 years ago, and I've had a small business in Deep Cove for 14 years. So I really feel like a great connection with a lot of the women, they're not just women, who own small businesses in Edgemont. And the similarities between Deep Cove and Edgemont in terms of small business are really remarkable. We need to protect our small businesses, our independent owner-operated businesses. I'm concerned that there's businesses are being, as is housing, commoditized and homogenized, and everything's going to start looking like everywhere else. And small businesses make up such an important part of our community, and I feel really strongly about protecting them. What else do I wish I had written down? Thanks, Bill. So, as a community, 10 seconds, thank gosh. So, as a community, we were able to really work together to implement some policies around single-use plastic reduction. I found there's a lot of, stop. I'm Megan Curran.
Thank you. And now 2 minutes for Phil Dupasquier.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
I want to thank you all for taking the time to be here tonight, and wish to acknowledge that this event is taking place in the unceded territory of the Coast Salish people. My name is Phil DePaquier, and I would like to be your District North Vancouver councillor. This is our last all candidates meeting, and in the time I've been given, I'd like to take a moment to thank everyone who's put their name forward to serve. In particular, I want to thank my councillors: Jordan, Mitchell, Matthew, Megan, Mark, Linda, Betty, Barry, Jim, John, Robin, Zoanne, Lisa, Samir, Greg, Peter, Carly. Win or lose, please know that you've all earned my respect, and I feel that I'm a better person for getting to know you. So thank you. I believe that in publicly recognizing something or someone, you give it more credibility. And so I'd like to talk today about our biggest issue, climate change. 6 days ago, a pipeline blew up in Northern British Columbia, demonstrating our vulnerability and our reliance on carbon fuels extracted thousands of miles away. On October 8th, a report came out from the UN that stated we only have 12 years to limit climate change catastrophe. But most of our discussion here is about traffic and housing. I'm passionate about these issues and they have a real impact on people's real lives. But I ask, if we don't act now, will things get better? Do you want to be back here in 4 years talking about what we have to accomplish with only 8 years left? We need to start talking about climate change and how we're going to do our part to mitigate it. We need to reduce our carbon footprint. We need to introduce alternative energy sources. We need to stop our addiction to plastic. We need to look after our planet first and foremost. As a coach and mentor for the last 20 years, I've had the wonderful opportunity to interact with the youth of our community. and I sincerely believe that they are capable of stepping up and leading us, but we must give them something to work with. How will you answer the inevitable question your children or grandchildren ask you in 12 years? Will you tell them that you decided to demand that your elected representatives from all levels of government change the way we go about business? Think globally, act or vote locally. On October 20th, I hope you support me, Phil DePaquet.
Thank you. And now, 2 minutes for Mark Elliott.
Phil's a great guy too. My name is Mark Elliott. I'm running for council. I grew up in this part of North Vancouver. I went to Highlands Elementary School in Handsworth. I remember Torchies, for those of you who have been around for a while, and Peter Rabbit. My village has changed quite a bit since then, but the constant is the great people in the community. I sit at a crossroads between generations. I have kids who are growing up here, and I have parents who live here. I understand the issues that are facing both. I decided to run for council for 2 basic reasons. I have 2 kids, and I'm afraid that they're not going to be able to make the choice to live in North Vancouver. And I also believe that governments in general have a tendency not to listen after elections finish, and I would like to improve that. I have volunteered on the Parks and Natural Environment Advisory Committee for the last 3.5 years because I believe in community involvement. I have spent time near Cobb's Bread recently talking to residents about their priorities and concerns. And the top concerns that I heard were traffic. Contrary to popular opinion, population hasn't caused all of our traffic problems. We've only grown by 1.8% between 2011 and 2016. Solutions are long-term, but we can make some near-term changes to help ease the congestion. Better point-to-point transit in other cities has led to more transit use. We need to improve our bike lanes for safety for cyclists, and we need to facilitate and encourage more ride sharing. Affordable housing. More purpose-built rentals are needed to provide stable housing for people, so that people don't have fear of evictions, including more family-sized units. 3 and 4, taxes, bureaucracy, and efficiency. This is the one community I heard that from, and more than any others. These are all linked. Taxes eventually affect affordability for everyone as the trickle-down affects rent as well. Some residents have suggested that applications take too long. We should always be striving to be as efficient as possible. I'm an independent thinker who would like to help shape what North Van looks like in 20 years, and I'll work for you. Thanks, vote for Mark Elliott.
Thank you. And now, 2 minutes for Linda Findlay.
Hello, my name is Linda Findlay and I'm running for councillor. My husband and I have lived on the North Shore our entire lives. My husband grew up here in Edgemont and the Highlands area, just up on Melbourne Avenue, and that is where we lived during the first years of our marriage. Today we call Lynn Valley home, having lived there for 30 years while raising our 2 sons. Community service is core to who I am. I have volunteered with many sports organizations across the district, served with Scouts Canada for 9 years, and on the Upper Lynn Elementary PAC for 12. The last 10 years, I have served on the executive board of the Royal Canadian Legion Lynn Valley branch, serving veterans and their families and supporting seniors and youth activities in our community. Corporately, I have managed provincial campaigns for United Way, JDRF, and MS City Walk. Professionally, I bring 35 years in the finance industry, 35 years experience in the finance industry, including management, planning, commercial lending, and mortgage financing. There are many issues that need to be addressed in this district. These issues cannot be looked at individually, but rather as a whole. We need to foster integrated thinking in order to develop and implement solutions that are in the best interest of the entire community. We must continue to provide an environment that attracts new businesses, creates employment, and ensures long-term economic growth. Additional priorities include improving transportation and infrastructure, managing density and growth, and preserving our natural habitat. Moving forward, we need to look at how things used to be, scrutinize the changes that we are experiencing now, and lay the groundwork for a progressive and sustainable future. I've been a keen council watcher for the past 6 years, and this is my 2nd time running for council, falling short of a seat, just short of a seat in 2014. Such is my commitment to earning your vote and representing you on council. It would be my honor to work for you, the voter, for the next 4 years. And thank you for your time and coming out tonight. My name is Linda Findlay, and I'm number 12 on your ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, 2 minutes for Betty Forbes.
Hi, welcome everybody, and thank you for spending your evening with me. I know I'm supposed to introduce myself, but I'd like to talk to you more about the issues that you have in the community. And if I get time, I'll tell you about myself. I am a fourth generation North Vancouverite, and I love this place. I've lived in many parts of North Vancouver, including just around the corner on Ridgewood for many years. This community is one of the jewels of the district. I remember walking to Super Value store for groceries and to the hardware store for whatever. Both don't exist anymore. The community is under siege with the amount of development that has been built, started, and still to come, as approved by the majority members of the current council. I want to slow development down and look at where we are at and phase developments to lighten the negative impact on the surrounding neighborhood and businesses. Edgemont Road is bumper to bumper at times, or lanes are closed. Your side roads are also suffering as people are running in residential streets to get around traffic. I spoke with some people here that are actually running from here to my street, Kirkstone, in Lynn Valley, down Mountain Highway, to access the highway ahead of the famous cut back up. There's very little parking available here for people to park and shop. Small businesses that have been here for years have been closed because they can't afford their rents or leases. The businesses can't keep staff because of the unaffordability of housing or traveling here. I want to incentivize small businesses to stay here and come here to provide local jobs. You are also affected by the traffic on Capilano Road, and I would like to improve that with shuttle buses that go to Grouse and go to the suspension bridge and not take up the space on regular transit. Just to let you know, for the last 30 plus years, I've been an accountant and a business person, and I spent 5 of those years working in the district finance department. I'm focused on solutions, vote Betty Ford's number 5 on your ballot.
Thank you. And now, 2 minutes for Barry Forward.
Thank you very much. My name is Barry Forward, and I'm running for council because I believe we have a simple choice, decision to make on October 20th. It's about leadership. Who do we want running the district? It's as simple as that. We must elect a new mayor and council who not only understand the issues and challenges associated with the incredible change that we have witnessed over the past 4 years here in North Van, but a council who we believe will lead us through these challenges with the best interests of the community in mind, and be willing to work with the community in a collaborative, informed, and thoughtful way. I live in Upper Capilano, near the top of Mount Royal. My kids went to Canyon Heights and Handsworth, and I am one of the only council candidates standing before you tonight who lives west of Lonsdale, and I have lived and breathed this community for over 20 years. For the past 10 of those years, I've been elected as one of your school trustees in the district. During that time, I've had the opportunity to sit on numerous working committees throughout North Vancouver, and what I've learned is to get anything done, we must be able to work together. And that means working with and listening to the community. This is an amazing place. I love North Van. I want to stay here, I want my kids to live here, and you have a decision to make on October 20th as who you want to represent you here on the council. We have 18 wonderful candidates up here, just an assortment of great choices that you can make. There's some of my longtime friends, Phil DePaquier and Peter T-Van, who've been here. Some really great people. We've got Jordan Back running from Lynn Valley, the missing middle right there. I'm trying to showcase some new faces because I think we have an opportunity to elect some new people on council. We've got Greg Robbins, Mark Elliott, Carlene Thomas, Samir, Zoan Morton, Betty Forbes, and Megan Curran. We've got Mitch Baker and Linda Finley. I want you to make a choice on October 20th for leadership. Put some new voices in, put some new faces in. Thank you.
Thank you. And now 2 minutes for Jim Hansen.
Good evening. For those of you who have not had the pleasure to meet already, my name is Jim Hansen, and I'm running for re-election to council. I'd like to thank you all for coming out to see and hear the candidates so that your choice at the ballot box is informed. And obviously, I'd like to thank the conveners of this very important community event. I grew up in North Vancouver. My grandmother lived at 777 West Queens. My wife Ruth and I have raised our own family here. I believe I understand the issues that face North Vancouver District. If re-elected, I commit to focus on the following 3 topics. 1, I will continue to vote to slow the pace of development. Along with me and Councillor Murray have consistently voted over the last term to slow the pace of development. I will work with council and all of the stakeholders on the issue of traffic congestion, and I will seek to focus our development on the housing, the development that does proceed on the housing that is most urgently needed by our community. During the last several weeks, I have done a lot of door knocking, some right here in this community, and I have come to understand that our communities want to be heard. They want to be consulted, and they want to be part of the decision making. I believe that consultation should be more than just a box to be ticked on the path to development. We need to look for win-win solutions that include the success of all of the communities in our neighborhood. It has been a great honor to serve, and if I am re-elected, I will focus very diligently on traffic congestion. I look forward, I have some ideas about that, I'm sure I'll have a chance to communicate them further, and it has been an honor to serve. I look forward to your questions, and thank you. I am Jim Henson.
Thank you. And it appears that John Harvey is not with us tonight. He was invited. So moving right along, 2 minutes for Robin Hicks.
Good evening, and thank you all for coming. My name is Robin Hicks, 4-term councillor and 40 years on the North Shore with 7 grandchildren. I volunteer with many organisations such as Silver Harbour Senior Centre and children's sports as treasure, soccer, swimming, water polo, etc. I'm a CPA CA with international corporate experience and 35 years working, lecturing and writing on government finance. I've chaired the district's Finance and Audit Committee for the last 10 years, and I'm a member of Metro's Utilities and Finance Committees. I believe in positivity and realism in a very complex local environment. There are no easy win-wins in today's world. Our debates have been dominated by traffic and housing issues, but I think financial resources are critical to addressing these challenges. With minimal population increase over the last decade, the main cause of traffic congestion is the result of our commuting workforce who cannot afford to live here. This was confirmed in the INSTEP report. I believe in purpose-built and affordable rentals. We can achieve this, which we are currently doing, by providing district land and negotiating with developers for these types of units. If you shut down development, you close the door on this avenue. Councillor Murray, at every meeting to date, has alleged the infamous four on council, including our respected Mayor Richard Wharton, are in league with developers, and it has been a challenging year for her. But maybe, just maybe, the four of us might be right and understand the situation better than her. I'm hoping that the present incumbents won't be criticised all evening tonight for making tough decisions which we think are right. My hope is for civil debate based on factual information and respect for our professional staff. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, 2 minutes for Zoanne Morton.
My name is Zoanne Morton, and I live in Lynn Valley, but if you have a creek in your neighborhood, I've probably spent many afternoons exploring your backyard. I've led a non-profit organization for the past 23 years, the Pacific Streamkeepers Federation, and I've learned a lot through working with volunteers from across British Columbia. I work with a diverse group of people of all ages, income, and different cultural backgrounds. And I get to interact with these people in our creeks, on boardrooms, and within government processes. 23 years of reviewing grant applications, policy paperwork, and regulations, working alongside volunteers, government, business, First Nations, has put me here with the skills to help the municipality and our government work well with others, to produce plans and policy for the people and landscapes of our district. Our landscape in North Vancouver is diverse in nature and diverse in hard structures. I look forward to working with council and staff to review our plans for our infrastructure that takes our unique landscapes and terrain into consideration. At each doorway and meeting, we hear the needs for affordable housing, traffic concerns, and density. Well, we can't solve these in 2 minutes as we're here. We are hearing, we're reading, and planning for the future. with the new interchange at Lynn Creek having taken over 22 years to come into play. The time now is to start working on the needs and putting these forward for our community. So Ann Morton, third from the bottom on your ballot. I think you do well in the draw.
Thank you. And now, 2 minutes for Lisa Murray.
Thank you. My name is Lisa Murray, and I've been privileged to represent this community on council for 22 years. A lot has changed over the years, but not as much as we've seen in the last 4. Traffic is bad, it's more expensive than ever to live here, residents in some part of our municipality are being displaced, and business in other parts are struggling through construction pressures and high lease rates. Our quality of life is not what it was. The community has always accepted change, but well managed and controlled, protecting what's important, the environment and people, while still welcoming new residents. We are a community with reasonable expectations as to how our elected officials will reach decision. We want to be heard, and we want our input and our presence to be respected. I don't believe the last 4 years have been a stellar example of working together and reaching consensus. Time and time again, we have had residents, neighborhoods, and businesses come forward and challenge the upheaval and the impact that has occurred throughout the district, only to be told there is nothing we can do, while the additional approvals continue adding insult to injury. In the Capilano, development approval and construction permits are more significant than anywhere in the district. Close to 1,100 multifamily units and 2,800 parking spaces have been approved in the last 5 years alone. The high turnover of single-family construction coupled with multiple rezonings, not to mention the myriad of metro and DMV infrastructure and facility projects. Neighborhood character, including privacy, erosion of the tree canopy, are but a few issues. It's understanding people are stressed and frustrated. Change can happen, but not all at once. I have spent a considerable amount of time assisting residents and businesses up the corridor and in the village, trying to address concerns of safety issues, bylaw, and development issues. It's been a challenge. Again, none of this needed to happen the way that it did. Phasing and prioritization could have addressed many of these issues. There are no easy solutions to traffic or congestion. We live in a great community. Let's pause and elect an experienced mayor, including a council with fresh ideas. My name is Lisa Murray, and I ask for your continued support on October 20th. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, 2 minutes for Samir Parak.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming tonight. My name is Samir, and I'm running for council in our fantastic district. I've lived in the district my whole life, in 4 different neighborhoods, went to Handsworth up the road, and I'm advocating for more affordable housing, better transportation solutions, and building better communities. My background includes building homes for the Habitat for Humanity in Burnaby, volunteering to help protect our environment, and also giving back to the place I love, North Vancouver. I have my Bachelor's of Commerce from UBC, specializing in transportation and logistics. I've got my MBA from Queen's University. And I want to bring this collaborative, team-based approach from what I've done in my work and my education to the council chambers. I run my family business in the district in Lynn Valley. I've got corporate experience, and I'll have the balance by working in a membership-based organization where we listen to our members, just like I want to listen to all of you in the council chambers. I'm running because I'm a young professional. It's finding it difficult to stay here. I'm almost 40, and I had to move back home with my parents. It's not a joke. I've got true skin in the game for affordable housing. I don't want my classmates from Handsworth or Cap U to leave our district. Been here my whole life, I want to keep it that way. On October 20th, vote for Samir Marek, number 2 on your ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, 2 minutes for Greg Robbins.
Good evening. I'm Greg Robbins, an independent candidate for council. Thank you for being here tonight and being engaged. I live in the district with my wife and 2 children, and I work in the publishing industry. I have been active in our community since moving here 17 years ago. At the Lookout Society, I oversee provincial funding to house at-risk residents. I also sit on 2 college boards to support education for youth. With a diploma in journalism, I've always looked at issues from as many angles as possible. And of course, always a learner, I'm currently enrolled in the Masters of Leadership program at Royal Roads University. I deeply value and practice honesty, integrity, authenticity, and equality. I've met many fellow residents at their doorstep, and housing costs are a top concern. I commit to an affordable and livable community as a councillor. I will always vote in favor for the creation or renovation of rental housing we can actually afford. How can we do this? Through the federal government's National Housing Strategy and the BC Community Housing Fund to offset business costs for developers. I would also vote in favor to implement the steps outlined in the provincial Homes for BC program available on the website. Many of you have expressed your frustration about the pace of development. A well-known local merchant told me Edgemont is suffering from building fatigue. He described how people who once came for the charm and quaintness of Edgemont are now avoiding the flaggers and construction dust. I will call for a review of the OCP to make sure we're acting in the spirit of our community and our residents. As a councillor, I promise to do my part in standing up for residents and our local community by giving renters a chance to be part of the North Shore. We will help our local businesses reduce commuter traffic and bring back the spark that children and young adults bring to our streets, shops, and parks. By building better bike paths and safer sidewalks, we can get out and enjoy the beautiful days like today and enjoy our incredible surroundings in our community. I'm Greg Robbins, and I look forward to your support this Saturday.
Thank you. And now, 2 minutes for Peter T. Van.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Peter T. Van. I'm running for council, an independent candidate. One of the most common questions we get is, what have we done to prepare for this role? What qualifications do we have? Very quickly, I've got a 30-year business degree in a variety of large corporations, small business. I've been the manager of a business here in the district of North Vancouver, so I've dealt with the municipality from a businessman's point of view. I have dealt with them because I had to tear down my house because it was riddled with mold because of the leaky condo zoning and building code problem. I've had a lot of different exposure. I've had 5 different community group board memberships over the years. Also, I have been the vice chair of the Seymour Community Association for the last couple of years. Over the last year, I've gone to pretty much every council meeting, and these are just the formal written submissions I've made to council, including numerous verbal presentations, emails back and forth. What I've been working on is trying to get council to respect and pay attention to the people of the District of North Vancouver. We seem to have been on a crash course for trying to create opportunities for people who aren't here, which is a noble cause, but we've been doing it on the backs of people here and harming them in foundational ways. Particularly, I'm talking about the demo evictions that have occurred. I was very involved with the Emery Village situation and fought there, got right into the nitty-gritty of rental and affordable housing, what it truly means, and how we can get it. We need to stop evicting current residents in order to try to bring new residents in. There is a better way. I'm a big picture thinker. I look at all sides of the picture and bring in lots of different points of view. We need balance on this council, not just balance, but forward thinking. I'm Peter T. Van, October 20th, 4th on your ballot.
Thank you. And now, 2 minutes for Carlene Thomas.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you to the organizers for opening your home and welcoming us here. I too would like to stand here and thank all of these fine human beings for putting their name forward to become your district council come October 20th. My name is Carlene Thomas. I'm from the Tsleil-Waututh Nation. I spent 16 years as an elected council member for my nation. That experience has helped me hone what I believe to be my strengths and my skills at building relationships, at creating space to have critical conversations. I know here in the district we have critical issues that we need to come together and work on together. My grandfather always taught me, we have to find a way to coexist. We have to find a way to work together. My husband and I have raised 3 children here. We have 5 grandchildren on the North Shore. We participated in all the soccer, girls soccer, boys soccer, men's soccer, women's soccer, and now we're starting that with our grandchildren. As far as qualifications that I have, besides the 16 years experience, I have a Bachelor's of Education degree and a teaching certification from UBC. I was appointed to the Board of Governors for Capilano University just this summer, which I'm really excited to learn about and get in and do some good work. I'm on the Board of Directors for the Wildberg Trust. What I bring to the district table is the ability to work together in a calm, respectful way. On October 20th, I humbly ask you for your support. Thank you.
And thank you. And that brings us to a close of the first portion of the evening, of the opening statements. For the second part, I expect things to be moving along a little more quickly. The speakers will have 1 minute to respond to one question each. The questions have been written by the Edgemont and Upper Capilano Community Association executive. This is the time of the evening where, if the candidates wish, they may use their wild cards. They have 2 each. If you hold one up, I'll point at you and lift a finger, and that'll mean you're number 1, you're number 2, you're number 3, just in case everyone wants to talk at once. Okay? And so it gives you 1 minute to make a statement after the speaker is done. Or you may also use it to extend your statement by 1 minute. Okay? You can use the wild card in this 1 question each section, or you can use your wild card in the quick questions that will follow the intermission. And again, you will have 1 minute to respond. And I commend you all for your discipline in speaking and keeping your speaking times tonight. We're moving right along, so this is great. So again, I'm going to go in alphabetical order, beginning with the mayoral candidates. And just one more disclaimer, I didn't write these. Hold them against me. So we'll start with a question for Ash and Lonnie. Ash, you are the founding member and leader of the Building Bridges team. As a new candidate, why do you believe that a political party is needed in the District of North Vancouver?
Hello? Oh, there we go. Whoever wrote that question, thank you for asking. I'm sure many of you are wondering, why a political party? Why now? I lived on North Shore for about 16 years and seen many people run for council, always felt that we did not have enough diversity. I'm part of the missing middle on the North Shore, the generation that keeps leaving because we can't find a home here. And I wanted to make sure that this next council is representative of all members of our community. And that's the reason why I founded this political party, so that we could support excellent candidates who would otherwise not think of running for office, be able to run for office. We've been working together, knocking on doors together. Some of you have seen us at your doors, you've seen our leaflets in your mailboxes. We've knocked over 10,000 doors in our community. We wanted to engage differently, and we want to bring a new voice to our council.
Thank you. Moving along to our, yes, Carlene.
Thanks. That question. Sorry, all that hair is on my body, just like, oh. I just wanted to add to that because I think that's a really important question that nobody seems to want to ask to our face. I joined this team for the exact same reasons Ash had explained. Nobody has come to the Silent Nation and said, hey, how would you like to get involved in municipal civic governance? I feel that we are in an exciting time right now as a municipality to build those relationships with the Indigenous peoples within our communities and with the other communities that are within our district. That's why I joined the Building Bridges team. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving right along to the next question. The next question is for Aries Barsley. Aries, what do you consider to be the key personal skills needed to be a successful and effective mayor?
Hi, one of the Aries Barsley. Thanks again for coming. One of my supporters says, Aries, we really want you to be the mayor because you care so much. You really, really care. So I think people get that integrity and caring and really listening and really, really work with people and kind of slow down and try to make sense of everything that is happening here. All my life, I was committed to work in horrible places and report from the most devastating places and scenarios you all see on television, from Rwanda, Cambodia, Somalia, etc. This was what driving me. And when I see something so important, like what they're having to face now, I just sprang to action again, my activist kind of heart and an instinct jumped in. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving right along to the next question. The next question is for Mike Little. In considering your previous term as a district councilor, what decisions did you make then that, upon reflection, you maybe regret or would consider differently today?
Thank you for the question. There are two decisions that really still bug me. We signed on to Metro Vancouver's regional growth statement, and I think we should have held out because the wording on it really restricts your local council's ability to make decisions over land going forward in the future. We were required to sign on to a regional growth statement, but we were not, regional context statement, but they were not required to include a bunch of the language that was actually in there, and that extra language has always bugged me because it's a limitation that other municipalities would not have welcomed themselves, and so I do regret that one. We also have had, with the official community plan, we set it a little high and we made it so that it was flexible so we could actually deliver on our goals. The local area plans should have been set dramatically lower. Now, most of the local plans were passed after I left council and in the term after, but I still think that they should have been lower so that you could density bonus to get what you want. Instead, we haven't actually delivered on what people want, and so I would change that.
Thank you. And we have a wild card. Oh. Very well. Thank you. It doesn't mean I'll give you any more time, though. Just joking. Okay, now moving right along to the next question for Dennis Pascal. What are your relevant accomplishments that you believe will enable you to be a successful and effective mayor?
Effectively, I've been able to deal with 3 levels of government with large financial budgets and safety as a primary concern. Moreover, I've become very skilled at dealing with municipalities and council and the different groups that have different agendas and trying to get alignment with them. My skill sets include an MBA with a double major, one in administration and one in marketing. And that's been honed with years and years and years of experience. I've dealt just about exclusively with the public and can very quickly identify where things are going off the rails, so to speak. So, October 20th, Dennis Maslow. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question for Glenn Webb. Glenn, what achievements or performance of the outgoing council either impress or distress you? And if possible, provide a specific example.
Thanks for that question. What I'm really impressed about the outgoing council was the consultation that went on for the Delbert lands. The Delbert lands are a very important piece of property, district-owned property, and if we were to proceed with the project that Catalyst has proposed, we would be creating affordable housing for young people, young families, and seniors, and we'd also creating respite spaces for seniors, for people who are providing care for a senior parent and need a break. I think the process that the district went through as far as consulting the community was thorough and fair, and I would hate to see that project die because of opposition.
Thank you. Moving on to the council candidates. First question for Jordan Back. Jordan, what is your definition of manageable housing growth?
Good question, and thank you for it. I think when we look at growth, and it was hinted at here by one of the candidates in the district, we haven't actually seen a ton of growth, although we have a lot of housing in the pipeline. I think it's fair to say that our community is growing according to our community plan, which I do believe in. I think it's provided a good guide. Where I think it fails now is that it doesn't address traffic congestion, and it doesn't address affordability as it is today. So I think we will and need to review that plan in 2019, and I look forward to being a part of that. When it comes to housing, we do need a greater diversity of the type of housing, more purpose-built rental, which we'll all speak about here, and I think it's time to really take a look at it.
Thank you. Moving on to a question for Mitchell Baker. Mitchell, what are the most important assets of the District of North Vancouver, and how would you preserve and/or enhance them?
I believe our most important asset is our green space. Obviously, we have a lot of it. We need to preserve it. Obviously, we're not going to be building into it. There is a lot of discussion about how our trails are being used. It's difficult to say one group is more important than another, and I think that through collaboration, we need to sit down with these people and say, this is our long-term plan with the green space. To me, our mountains are our biggest asset. I love mountain biking. I know he loves mountain biking, and I think that we have a bit of a lost opportunity in using our mountains to the utmost.
We have a wild card with Samir.
I agree with Mitchell that our biggest asset is our land. 100% agree. But it's how we use that land. We need to ensure that, yes, we have to protect all of our forests and our green spaces. But what are we going to do to sustainably manage to implement some more affordable housing, rental housing, purpose-built rentals? That's what I'm committed to doing. Think about what Whistler has done. They've prioritized some spaces for people that work in Whistler. So if you work in Whistler, you can live in Whistler. Just like what I want to do here. Give people that option. If you work where you live, don't spend time in traffic. Reduce your impact to the environment. Build a better community. You can be more healthy, be more active. Come to these types of events that we have tonight. Otherwise, if we're spending 2 hours in traffic, we wouldn't have time to do that. You can also spend time with your families. Having people live where they work reduces our traffic congestion all around, as 2,000 people a day are commuting to North Vancouver just to work here.
Thank you. Then we have Robin Hicks, followed by Jim Hansen.
Obviously, our environment and our infrastructure and the ground is important to us. But I think the most important thing we have here is the people that live here, our staff at the district, and our families and the children here to come. And we need to enhance and encourage young families to come and live here. Otherwise, our vibrancy, our culture, and our social life will disappear.
Thank you very much. And I hear about the most valuable asset of the district. I don't think of a physical asset. I think about us and our time and our way of life and how we spend our time and the productivity that we gain or lose by the infrastructure around us. And I am very concerned that we spend an awful lot of our time in traffic, going nowhere, which is a great loss. If I am re-elected to council, I commit to you that I will be a strong voice for transit, because if we can draw 1 out of 20 people out of their cars, traffic experts tell us our streets will be less congested. B-lines, park and rides, express buses, and also traffic clearing of the iron workers. I will be a voice for these things because our greatest asset is us and how we spend our time in productively in North Vancouver District.
Thank you. Wildcard Lisa Murray, then Phil DePaquier.
Obviously, protecting our land base is critical, and I've always been supportive of that over the 22 years. But protecting the people that live here is equally as important. At the beginning of this term in 2014, Council moved to displace 75 families in Lynn Valley on Mountain Highway 27 to make way for 400 condominiums. This past year, 6 months ago, we did the same thing up in Lynn Valley at Emery Place and displaced another 61 families. Those families in both of those complexes lived in purpose-built affordable rental that within the OCP was a policy required those units to be protected. We were to protect that older affordable housing units. There are many hundreds of families that live there, young people with young children that work in this community, and we have actively made the decision to tear it down. I'm not in favor of ever doing that, and I have not supported any of it in this term and or previous terms.
Thank you. Phil?
Am I on? Thank you for the question. Obviously, our environment is so important to us. It defines who we are and everything like that. But I think fundamentally, our biggest asset is our people. And I think we've lost a connection to the people. We have to get it back. We have to get our mandate back. When I knock on doors, when I talk to people, I do the same thing. We're not being heard. We send emails into the district. We aren't getting replies and things like that. We have to start listening to our community. It is our biggest asset. The people here are incredibly diverse and incredibly smart. I talk to them. The ideas are given to me constantly at doorsteps. Why aren't these ideas getting to the district council? I think they are, but why aren't they followed up on? That's my question. So I think what we really have to tap into is you. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, wild card. Thank you, Dennis.
That's going to be hard. I agree with the green spaces, but I don't think we're making any more. But I would ask and I would wonder why this standing council wanted to cut a road through Kirkstone Park to support densification. I would ask why at 27th and Mountain Highway, we've kind of lost one lane, increased significant MVAs, motor vehicle accidents, because the lanes have been truncated. So there's lots of words flying around here. And people are, of course, of primary importance, but then where do you live? Thank you.
Thank you. We have Mark Elliott, followed by Greg Robbins, followed by Ash.
I'm going to go back to the people aspect of things as well in terms of being our most valuable asset. People here care about each other, they have compassion for each other. The Lions facility burns in Deep Cove, and people reach into their pockets to help their neighbors as best they can. People in North Van, I've been here for 41 years, and everybody here really does care about each other. And I hope going forward that we continue to have good conversations and everybody works together in a balanced way. So people definitely. Thanks.
Thank you. Greg?
Thank you. Great question. And I'm going back to the nature being our greatest asset. When I have friends come and visit me, they look around in complete awe. They can't believe where we live. And when you really think about it, we really do live in an extraordinary environment. We ski, we bike, we trail run, we go to the beach, you can play golf and ski in the same day. The challenge I'd like to remind everyone about is climate change, and it is coming and has been identified by the District of North Vancouver as being a factor in the draft budget. we can expect potential wildfires, stream overflows, the fur beetle coming to a forest near you, and loss of snow on our local hills. So I suggest we can do a few things right away. This is a how. We can certainly look at e-cars for the District of North Vancouver. We won't necessarily have to drive around in Astromans. We can eliminate two-stroke park equipment right off the bat, and we can certainly engage in ongoing dialogue to solve car emissions.
Thank you. Ash?
So I also agree that our people are our greatest assets. I think living here, I know that the people of North Van are generous, they're kind, they care. You're all here tonight, you're engaged, you're well educated. I think our community has a lot to offer, and I think your time is limited and it's precious, right? And as mayor and council, we need to make sure that we're able to hear from you where you're at, not where we're at. Sitting in the council chambers at weeknights around 7 p.m. is often not the best time for you. And so I'm committed to making sure that we're having pop-up town hall events in your rec centers and your park spaces, so you can just drop by and let us know what's on your mind. So we can hear from you and your kids and your youth, having youth mentorship opportunities in the mayor's office, so that your children can participate in the civic life, because they're as much part of this district as the rest of us. And the last thing I would say is we need to improve the low barrier technology that we're using. I think better use of things like Facebook, Instagram, to make sure that you're able to follow where your district is going. I would bring that to the table.
Thank you. And now, Harris?
Thanks for your patience and thanks for coming. Am I the only one that when I cross back the bridges, I breathe? I actually breathe. I feel different. And I think that's the paramount reason why we came to live here. So I think that the environment and what we have here is so unique and so important. And of course the people. So the First Nations is the captive for us. And now it's for us to actually make sure that our next generations have the same and not getting it worse. I believe that everything that we're facing has a solution. I think that if we work collaboratively together and we slow down so we can maybe get faster again, but we have to slow down and we have to work together with Translink and with all those governments, all our neighbors, everybody together to make this place the place we love. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, after that exciting flurry of wild cards, we are back to our scheduled questions. Question for Matthew Bond. Matthew, as a cycling advocate, what are your thoughts on creating more bike lanes and public cycling infrastructure, even if it means eliminating or reducing on-street parking on commercial centers such as Edgemont Village?
So, Edgemont Village is going to be a unique case, obviously. I would look at the research that's been done in other areas, such as the City of Vancouver. The City of Vancouver started about 10 years ago introducing protected bike lanes in their commercial areas. Businesses, 100% opposed. 4 years later, they studied the fall, and they said businesses, 100% support. You know why? People on bikes stop and get out off their bikes, and they shop at the businesses. It's a more pleasant realm for people to walk by, to see the businesses, because when you're trying to find your car, you're not going to see. You know, one car stops and parks. You get a lot more people on bikes and on foot going into the businesses and shopping. Now, it might not be everyone in this crowd, but some of the.
Thank you. Moving on then, seeing no wild cards, I have a question for Megan Curran. Megan, what would you see as the most important goal or target for the district in the next 4 years? And how would you accomplish this?
No big deal. So my number one is environment. I think maybe we've all caught the memo, maybe we haven't. I can only imagine the frustration of the scientists who wrote the first memo many, many decades ago. But we have an 80% reduction targeted for our greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, and we're now targeting to increase by 9%. So that means that we have to move quickly, and on environmental policies, the transportation is our #1 offender and building is our #2 offender. So we have to look at ways to move people differently. We have to look at ways to build differently. There are ways to build that are far more sustainable than pouring concrete. So I think that really having strong environmental policies that support better ways to move and better ways to build are going to prioritize our greenhouse gas targets.
Thank you. Moving along then, wild card by Mike Little.
If this next council can't address the transit issues in our community, then I think that it will have been a failure. This is, we have several opportunities coming up. Translink has put together the B-line proposal in our community, and I think that the way it is currently designed, it will not succeed. It has a hidden ridership goal that after 2 years' time, if it hasn't met that ridership goal, it will be canceled just like the third C bus was canceled. And I think that it's coming in too early. What we should instead focus on first is express buses to and from the North Shore tied into the SkyTrain stations to make sure we get the critical mass of people here to be able to make the B-line work. So my concern is that we're putting the right pieces in, but we're putting them in the wrong order, and it's going to end up with us not having a successful transit model in the North Shore.
Thank you. Matthew?
I just wanted to add a few notes on the B-line. There's 60,000 people that ride all of those buses along the Route Drive corridor today. With all the improvements that the district has already planned in terms of providing separated lanes and different lanes, those people are going to save 20 minutes every day, every trip. How much time is that being saved? I think the B-line is an amazing thing. I also think we need to work closer with TransLink. In the past, this council voted down a bus depot on the North Shore, and now those bus drivers have to drive all the way over to Burnaby to pick up their empty buses, come back to the North Shore, do their route, drive back to Burnaby and come back. So that's a really sad legacy of our previous council, and I think we really need to focus on solutions and have forward thinking to make sure we don't make those kind of decisions again.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question for Phil Dupaquier. Phil, with respect to achieving a diversified tax base, what initiatives do you support that will attract more business, industry, and employment to the district?
It's a really interesting question, really good question. I've worked in small business for a long time in the North Shore and ran it and owned it. So one of the big things, or challenges we have is housing, to get people to live here and that kind of thing. So the first thing we have to do is get affordable housing for the people who are working here, living here. So what I would propose is, similar to the Whistler model, we put up housing for those people. And we cap it, so they aren't going to be moving out and making a huge money on that kind of situation. But we allow them to live in the community that they're working on. It will also cut down on our traffic issues. We also have to really make sure that we take care of the small businesses and the zoning that around them. My wife works at Dykoff Nurseries, and they didn't get rezoned, but everything around them got rezoned, so their taxes went up to the point where they can't afford to be there anymore, so they're looking for a new home. So we have to take care of the businesses in this light industry to make it go. Thank you.
Thank you. And a wild card by Robin Hicks.
Well, we've had quite an expansion of major industry and major companies along the shoreline, which again involves people not being able to live here and move to work. And we have some opportunities. The high-tech business and other businesses like Arcturus, which is expanding, need extra room on the North Shore. We have an opportunity in Maplewood with the Innovation District to have live-work units and a high-tech base. There's great opposition to this at the moment, but sometimes you have to put jobs and industry over traffic. And sometimes I feel that we place traffic and the somewhat problems we have with facing that over and above people and jobs. And I think we do have to try and address transit, but sometimes maybe if we get the jobs and the accommodation there, then we get the transit changes that come with it.
Thank you. And a wild card from Zoanne Morton.
First off, for those at the back, I'd like to comment. There's 3 seats up here if you want to sit down for a bit, and there's a bench here as well. So come down and have a seat. The question was about taxes for business, and one of the things that's been commented on is that when an area is rezoned, it's considered the best use for that area, and so the taxes go with that as being the best use for the area. So it's no longer about industrial anymore, it's about whatever it's been rezoned to. We've lost a lot of light industrial areas along the Lower Lynn area. These are areas that now those flat lands were used for industrial purposes before. They are now going to be used for townhouses. We will get more taxes for the municipality, but where do those businesses go? All of the new business that's being made and all the new buildings that are being made are made at a higher price, and it's more expensive per square foot. And so now the taxes are going up and the rents are going up. It's getting very expensive for business to take hold here. We need to keep some of our existing businesses where they are.
Thank you. And a wild card from Megan.
So 2 categories of employment. Small businesses, I guess technically are defined as businesses that have a payroll of less than $500,000 a year. So there's a broad range when we talk about small business in our community. For very small independent businesses, I feel that there are federal and provincial funds that we can look into. There's also things we can do with tax programs. There's things that we can do to incentivize small independent-owned businesses. When older buildings are torn down and new things are built, typically the space is very large. And as a small business owner in Deep Cove, I can say that if my rent doubled, my sales don't double and I go away. And that's what seems to be happening for a lot of small businesses. So to really support those independent makers and designers in our community, we need to look at incentivizing to make it possible for them. As far as larger businesses go, 10 seconds, we as the District of North Vancouver have a great opportunity to create green jobs and be known for green jobs. We can be building modular housing, we can be, stop.
Thank you, Megan. And a wild card from Jordan Pack.
I appreciate what Megan said there, and I think in the District of North Vancouver, we're not necessarily known for being big supporters of small business, even though they really are what drives our community to a great extent. So I would like to see us maybe setting up a framework of small businesses throughout the community with the district, whatever that framework might look like. It's not just the Chamber of Commerce, although they do great work in advocating for business, but maybe something that the district can kind of lead and really connect with the business community. Because anecdotally, what I've heard from the business community is that they're not feeling particularly well heard by the district.
Thank you, Jordan. Now we're back on our scheduled series of questions. The next one's for Mark Elliott. Mark, society is often measured by how well it supports the vulnerable in the community. Who do you identify as being vulnerable, and what programs, if any, would you put in place to address their needs?
We definitely, despite the impression that North Vancouver is an affluent community and we don't have vulnerable citizens, that's obviously not true, as everybody knows. We do have vulnerable citizens. Affordable housing is one of those things, and people that are in fear of eviction. And so that's one of the reasons that we need affordable rental housing. And that's definitely one of the things we need to do to get back on track to helping some of the people that are more vulnerable in the community.
Thank you. Yes, Mitchell.
So I go for coffee every morning. I go quite early. There's typically 10 to 15 cars that pull into that parking lot between 5 and 7 o'clock with people that are living in their cars. These are people who are working every day. I talk to them every day before they go to work. We discuss what their program is and why they're living in their car. Most of these people aren't living in their car by choice. They've been either evicted from houses that have been sold and they can't afford to get the next month's rent plus an extra month's rent for a damage deposit. Perhaps the district should be looking forward to putting together a program that helps these people with their damage deposit that may be repayable, maybe it's a grant, to get these people out of their cars who are working members of our society and helping them find a place to live that's decent.
Thank you, Mitchell. Moving on to the next question. The next question is for Linda Findlay. Linda, what role should staff and council play in the staging and sequencing of development projects to minimize congestion and inconvenience to residents and businesses?
So was that staff and council, did you say?
I'll repeat it.
Yes, please.
What role should staff and council play in the staging and sequencing of development projects to minimize congestion and inconvenience to residents and businesses?
Well, staff play a large part of it. Everything goes through staffing first before it's brought to council. And you read the reports and see whether or not you agree with it or not. I think staff have a better finger on what is going. They know all the projects that are going one by one by one. And that council then would then be notified of how that is happening, and they can approve or not approve whether or not that project should move ahead at that time or the next time. And staff are the normal. This is hard. Sorry. Anyway, staff do all the hard work. Council members look at all the work they do and make the decisions based on the information that's provided to them. Thank you, and sorry about that.
Thank you, Linda. It is indeed difficult. Wild card from Peter Tiva.
Thank you very much. This has been one of my rather pointed topics over the years, because I've chanced to phone staff along the way and say, who is the one responsible to make sure that we're not doing road work on Keith Road and Main Street at the same time? And there's no answer to that question. They've recently appointed one manager, a very competent person who is looking at this, but we also need to coordinate that with the city. Right now, in the city, they're doing road work and have 13th reduced to 1 lane, and 3rd is closed for a water main. We need to coordinate this. The key part is council needs to work with staff to set the policies and the practices, but understand, once council issues the development permit, council's no longer involved. Staff manages it. We need them to do a bang-up job on making sure we can keep moving. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, Lisa Murray.
I've been challenging this since 2014 when it was clear to me that approvals were going to go forward no matter what. I brought forward several motions suggesting that we phase development across the municipality. You all know what it's like to go through Metro Vancouver projects, the dam, the replacement of water mains, road construction, the Delbrook new recreation facility, single-family homes being replaced at the largest number of single-family homes are being replaced in the Upper Capilano. 7 projects at one time were being approved within the village. Projects are still being considered as we speak. This is a 20-year official community plan, and the majority of units, the zoning has been passed. This council, without exception, has approved every single application since 2014, and we could have done this differently. We did not have to negatively impact our community the way we have. We could have phased it across the municipality and coordinated with other levels of government. We did not.
Thank you, Lisa. Seeing no wild cards, we go on to the next question for P4s. Ben, if required, what areas of municipal spending would you reduce or eliminate to minimize tax increases?
I'm not on the inside yet, so I'm not sure about the facts on that. But I would definitely look at redundancy, if we have redundancy in services or staff. I also make sure that we put bids out and get the best price possible for contracts. One of the ways the district has improved that a little bit this year is they moved up the budget process from happening in December and being approved in January to it recently was just approved in September. It was the midway budget was approved. So we have a chance to go out before the end of the year and get tenders and get the best price possible for services and contacts.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question for Barry Forward. Barry, the school board appears to have been very functional in recent years. What lessons have you learned from that experience that you could draw upon to improve the working chemistry on council?
Wow, okay. Well, it has been indeed a challenging 4 years on the school board, no question. It is about relationships, it's about people being open to what others have to say and working together. So I think from just an ongoing basis, what I have learned is that we need to listen to each other. We cannot close our ears to each other because we have a specific point of view. It's important that others hear us. It has, the school district, our board has had its challenges, no question, but I think the big learning, I think everybody out of that group of trustees will walk away with an increased appreciation for relationship building and listening. Thank you.
Thank you. And moving on to our next question for Jim Hansen. Jim, the North Shore News quoted you as supporting direct district investment in transit. But what does that involve, and how much would it cost taxpayers?
Thank you very much for that question, and I'm glad that somebody noticed that I made that comment. When I knock on a doorstep, and I have knock on a door and stand on a doorstep, and I've done so many times over the last number of months, the main thing you hear over and over again is traffic and traffic congestion. People are spending hours, fumes come out of their cars, great waste of our productivity, a great waste of our resources. We need to fix the problem. We can't build bridges immediately, and I wouldn't support them in any event, but what we can do is we can get people to leave their cars for buses if we create a better transit system. And I heard over and over again that people are prepared to do what it takes to get a better transit system. And if that requires some cooperation between us and Translate, and us actually partnering with them and providing some money to create, so that people don't have to stand and watch buses pass them by, I believe there is a district will for that investment.
Thank you, Jim. The next question is for Robin Hicks. Robin, municipal taxes are rising on average above the rate of inflation. What strategies have you pursued in your term on council to minimize these increases?
Well, we've made efficiencies within all departments. We've changed routines in the solid waste department, and I'm particularly in favor of bi-weekly pickup of garbage, keeping with a single week for compost, and I've advocated that when my fellow councillors haven't agreed to go along with that. We've reviewed most departments, and we have achieved, I'm not quite sure the figure now, but it's several $1 million worth of savings over the years in order to keep our taxes down to a 2% level per year because of the pressures from union contracts, RCMP contracts, water and sewer increases, which, by the way, are going to double over the next 5 or 6 years because of the investments by Metro Vancouver in water treatment plants and sewer treatment plants.
Thank you. Moving right along to our next question for Zoanne Morton. Zoanne, how would you work to improve respectful communications between members of council?
Somebody's been reading my website. So that's something that I feel that when I'm at council, I'm seeing the looks on the council members' faces, and an inability to kind of look someone in the eye and talk clearly to them. And that's something, I've got the background in working with volunteers. I work with about 30,000 different volunteers across British Columbia, and each person has their own core understanding and core values. And I think that's something that we need to do. I think as new council members, if the first thing we could do is get together and have a meal together, I think that's going to go a long ways. But getting the respect back on the council members so as to get the respect back of community. We have community members who are not as respectful now because the politicians and the decisions being made are not ones that they themselves would have made. And I think that opportunity to talk to one another more, to get out more in community, and to really listen to the people will bring the respect of the people back to the council and the council members to each other.
Thank you. Moving along to the next question for Lisa Murray. Lisa, you have advocated for maintaining existing but aging affordable rental housing. How do you propose we increase our rental housing stock to meet the increasing need?
Thanks for the question. I have absolutely advocated for that, and there was a report that was tabled with Metro Vancouver many years ago warning of this dire issue in regards to affordable purpose-built rental, most of it built in the early 70s. I don't think that we heeded that warning as much as we should have because of the displaced residents that we're dealing with right now, many of whom are going to have to leave the North Shore. Our strength is that we have land. We do have a significant land base, and we have a greenfield land base on our forested hillsides, but we also have flat land, and the majority of that land remains in the Maplewood community. The local community plan identifies some of that land to accommodate market condos, and it is zoned light industrial at the moment. I think there can be mixed-use opportunities and partnerships with service agencies throughout the region to accommodate affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on. Okay, moving on to the next question. The next one is for Samir Parak. Samir, how do we address our community's livability and housing affordability issues in tandem? I'll repeat that because I stumbled on it. How do we address our community's livability and housing affordability issues in tandem?
That's a great question. It comes back to something that I was saying earlier. If people have the opportunities, then first of all, we need the foresight. If our community plan talks about an area being densified in 8 years, let's talk about affordable rental housing now for that. That's our job, is to think ahead for it. That hasn't been done since 2011, at the 2011 time by the council back then, when the official community plan was put into place. And that's why we're in the position that we're in Lynn Valley. In order to get to this other part of the question in terms of building the better communities and the affordable housing, I mentioned this earlier. If you can get more people to work where they live where they work, they have more time to spend in the communities, they have more time to support local businesses, not impact the traffic as much, maybe change the way they commute or take different roads. There's plenty of ways to be able to do that, but we need to be able to smartly apply some affordable housing in our great district.
Thank you, Samir. Moving on to Greg Robbins. Greg, what are your views on the district requiring developers to provide more low-income housing in all of their proposals through density bonusing?
Yeah, density bonusing is a very interesting question. When you talk about the ability to put people into places, there are so many configurations that you could examine. I know on a lot of discussions I've had with business owners and a few developers actually, is this idea of actually bonusing based on a retail space finished with residential above. The advantage being that the residential may be less expensive with retail income below because of the greater square foot revenue based on that. Furthermore, it could represent a better windfall for as a tax base as well. That's the way I look at it.
Thank you. Yes, Peter uses his wild card.
I think this is a good time to introduce an idea I've come up with some time ago. One of the problems we have right now is our local area plan, for example, the Lower Capilano plan, and the official community plan have parameters that are too close to each other. So a developer comes in with a reasonable expectation that they're going to be allowed to build the maximum in the plan. Then we come back and we ask for things that benefit the community, like affordable housing, and they say, great, how much are you going to let us go over the plan? I've introduced an idea, please look for it on my website and Facebook page, called the Community Benefit Index. And also that we create space between the local area plan and the OCP. So a developer has to earn their way from the parameters of the local area plan up to the maximum that's in the OCP and not above, by delivering benefits to the community. So please look for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. And the next question is for you, Peter. Okay, your question. What are your views on municipal property taxes or fees from development being used to subsidize non-market housing?
Well, it's kind of in the same topic.
It sort of is, isn't it? You get another minute.
The Community Benefit Index that I proposed is almost like a score system. Now, I'm not the one to come up with that system. We would get a panel of experts to come up with the system. And this Community Benefit Index could be used to not only prioritize which projects get delivered to council for approval first, but would also impact things like waivers of development cost charges and community amenity charges, and in some rare instances, if it is truly like supported housing for low-income people, I believe there's situations where in the past we have looked at even waiving property taxes. So for me, this idea of a community benefit index would drive a number of evaluations: priority for building, allowances for building, and what these charges would be and how the district would contribute to delivering affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. And now for our question for Carleen. Carleen, as an elected council member for the Tsleil-Waututh Nation, how will you reconcile the interests of the band versus those of the DNV's ratepayers if both parties must negotiate, for example, a servicing agreement?
Thank you for the question. To be clear, I am not an elected council member for my nation currently. I have not been on the elected council for 4 or 5, maybe 6 years. But how I would, if there were any kind of conflict or perceived conflict, I would obviously recuse myself from the situation. How's that? Sorry, I know a little bit about the negotiation for the services for our nation. I know out there, people may think we don't pay taxes on the reserve. We do. We pay the district for all the services our people get. The difference is we don't do it individually, we do it as a nation.
Thank you very much.
Further questions later.
Okay, so that ends this portion. We're about to have a very short break. Before we have a break, I'm going to say one thing really quickly. And what we're going to do when we come back from the break is that if you want to ask one question to one candidate, write your name on a piece of paper, come see me, and we'll stick it in a big black hat. I will draw names at random, and then you will get to ask your question. I will ask one more thing, however, is that I understand that there's a public hearing that has been closed for the Delbrook lands, for the former Delbrook Community Center was. It means that the incumbent candidates aren't really supposed to talk about it. So I'll ask you to please be considerate when putting your questions to council. Okay, so we're going to go. Let me see, my clock says it's 8:55. We're going to come back here at 9 o'clock. See you in 5 minutes. grab a seat. We've got about 20 minutes of questions. We're going to get through as many as we can. Okay, everybody, please grab your seat. Okay, we're just about to begin. Please take your seats. We're about to make a draw. Okay, everybody, I'm about to begin here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw 3 names from this hat. If your name is called, I encourage you to line up behind this mic in the center aisle, and then you'll each have a turn to ask 1 question for 1 candidate. And we'll get through as many questions as we can. Candidates who still have wild cards are permitted to use them as they wish. So, this question, I probably shouldn't be one. I called it way up here. Do you want to join me in that? Oh, here we go. Could you please pull 3 names out of that hat? And hold it high so you can't see anything. Thank you very much. I'll take it. Excellent. So, could Colin Topley, Elizabeth McClenahan, and Kelly W. please approach the mic. Go ahead, Colin. 1 question for 1 candidate. Please make it a question.
Thanks very much. One of the items that we've received, that we have been asked to vote on in a non-binding vote, is do you authorise the District of North Vancouver to spend up to $150 million to create not less than 1,000 units? I found this question to be vague with no perimeters. I asked Mike Little to say what would he do to get support for such a motion, and what perimeters would he use?
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. The question I was a little bit of a puzzler when it was put together in the first place, and I think that that's one of the complaints that we've had over the course of the summer. A lot of the feedback is that the 2 questions that were decided on in the referendum are actually not clear. They're both non-binding, but they do generally give us a little bit of a sense of what the community's priorities are. I think on the affordability question, aside of what specifically asked in the referendum, we need to go to the development community and give them direction on what the definition of affordability is that we're going to accept. The one that I support is CMHC Level 2, which takes 30% of gross household income for a region, and I want that region to be the Metro Vancouver region, not a District of North Vancouver region. And one of the failures of the past has been that the units that we have approved under an affordable category are based on District of North Vancouver rates, or they've been 10% off the market. Well, if you're building luxury units, 10% off the market isn't an affordable unit in any way, shape, or form. So it's absurd for that to be counted as affordable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have 2 wild cards here, one by Barry Forward, one by Jim Henson. Go ahead, Barry.
Well, I think the question of a referendum on the ballot is just unfair to the electorate right now. There's not enough information. We need to educate people on the question before we ask them to answer it. And this has not been done. It's just doomed to fail for many reasons. One of my favorite is people will not approve. If they don't know anything about it, they won't approve a tax increase. So it's just, this is a poor question. It should not be on the ballot, and it will be, in my estimation, voted down.
Thank you. Now on to Jim.
Jim Henson. I attended a number of workshops where we talked about affordable housing, and it came out of one of the workshops reflecting on the fact that we were talking about spending $150,000 per unit to create affordable housing. And it occurred to me that a lot of the housing that's most urgently needed exists across our district unoccupied, in large homes that are occupied by only a couple or one person. So I brought a motion before council to ask staff to look at incentivizing secondary suites, because I think that will cost us a lot less than $150,000 a unit. The housing exists, and it can be, without destroying forests or creating disruptive construction sites, we can create some of the housing that we need immediately to accommodate some of the local workforce who are having such a struggle finding affordable rentals. Thank you. I'm Jim Hanson.
Thank you. And now, moving on to the next question.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth, and I am a resident of this immediate neighborhood of the village for the past 20 years, and family who've lived here for about the past 45 years. I'm very sympathetic to the merchants in the village. They're my friends, they're my family, they are my neighbors. And I see the strain that they have been under. It has greatly affected a lot of their business. People coming through the village from outside this neighborhood can't find a place to park. They move on. Even my brother, who lives up on Sunset, drove around, couldn't find a place to park, he had to go to the bank, and so, couldn't find a place. So I would like to know, since we're nearing completion with 2 properties with another 5 coming up, what, Barry, I'm going to ask you, you would do to phase what is currently the developments that have yet to be built, to phase it in a manner that will respect the merchants who are already fatigued by the current situation.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to answer that question. I think it's a real concern. We have, everybody's been waiting for the new Connaught to be building to go in, and it's just, there's going to be some parking in there, but in the meantime, we have had a situation that's just untenable for merchants, and we need, we heard a lot about this, is phasing in development, and what we can't do is all at the same time. We seem to be doing this to ourselves, and we have to look at it in a way that says, okay, we've got to look at it from a plan, look at the area, and make sure that it doesn't have this major impact. And if we do that, if we decide we're going to do it and it's going to directly impact, we've got to think of compensation to some of those merchants, because they are impacted, their incomes are impacted. So thank you for the question.
Thank you. Let's go on to the next question.
So transit has been brought up a lot tonight, but nothing has been brought up about the evening transit plans. As a young individual that works downtown bartending, there are essentially no safe options for me to get home at the end of my shift, other than a taxi, which can be impossible to find someone that's going to drive to North Van. So Mike Bill, I had a question for you on what are your options that you'd like to propose to getting workers downtown home safe at the end of the night?
Thank you for the question. First of all, I am a supporter of ride-sharing programs or ride-hailing programs. Uber and Lyft coming to our community. I know we have to work with the provincial government to get that regulation in place, but also I also support having robust taxi service. Denying calls to people going to remote areas should be against the law. I think that the taxi industry should have to account for every single pass-by that they do. And it's not just workers in the evening. Workers in the evening are a big problem. But also, as I said, I supported the Advisory Committee for Disabilities Issues for 7 years. The taxi industry is routinely skipping over houses where they know somebody with a disability is at. And I think it should be against the law. I think they should have to account for every single time they skip someone who's legitimately in the queue, because it's not acceptable. But I support later evening buses and later evening C buses as well to help. But I think it's going to have to be a combination of all of those things: taxi, ride sharing, and even transit bus. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to draw 3 more questions from the hat. Could you please help me by drawing 3 things? 1, 2, 3. Just a second here. Thank you so much. Vera Radio and Labney North. Lane North? Okay, well, good thing you didn't draw your own name then. And Moro Cheekside. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vera Radio, and I've lived in the district for 20 years or so, and in this area too, and I love it here. And I want to say, first of all, that I really have learned a lot tonight, and I appreciate the really respectful and thoughtful dialogue, and kudos to everybody here and the organizers of the event. I, like many of you, am a volunteer here, and I personally volunteer with North Shore Multicultural Society that works at welcoming and working with immigrants and refugees to come to the North Shore to help them successfully settle. And so what I would like to ask, I'm going to pick on Mike because you're right there. How do you see that the municipality can be a leader in creating a welcoming and inclusive community and one that is racism-free?
Thank you so much for the question. For the last 2 years, I've served on the board of New Hope Community Services, which is an immigration and refugee settlement program and housing that we have. And it's located in Surrey, but I can tell you that the successes that we've had working with the municipality, largely a library has been a fantastic partner for us, getting people connected with the community. The municipality has helped with the school district to get kids into a school that will serve them well. We also do transit training, making sure people know how to use the transit system. But it's also stuff you don't think about. They come here and they're not used to the pricing systems that we have here. And so they start shopping at the 7-Eleven. You go, no, you can go 4 blocks further away, there's a sale on foods, and we'll show you the differences that you're going to see. And so there is a transition process that you have to be involved in. I fully support the North Shore Multicultural Society for its work, and I've been doing some of that work on my own, but we want to see everybody have a successful transition here.
Thank you, Mike. And we have a wild card from Carleen.
Yeah, thank you. That's an awesome question, and that's something that is really in my wheelhouse. I think it's really important that communities get to know each other. And if I were elected to be successful to secure a seat, I'm not too sure what the parameters or what committees are available, but I would commit to working with the Multicultural Society to build those relationships with other communities that are within our beautiful district, because we really need those kinds of services, and it can't be just centered on those, language barriers, obviously a huge factor, but I think we all need to learn about each other because we all choose to live here. Thank you.
Thank you. So just before I make you ask a question, I encourage questioners to keep their preambles short and get right to the question. We only have about 10 minutes, so let's get through as many questions as we can. And I also encourage you to spread the questions around to different people, so we have lots of people to choose from tonight. Please go ahead.
Okay. Jim Hansen, during your opening statement, you mentioned continuing to vote for slow development of the North Shore and having an expanded process for consultation with the community. And my question for you is, what if the community decides that they don't want all that development? What if they decide that they want to say no to some of the projects? What then?
This goes to the very nub of the point. We need to look for win-wins. And North Vancouver District is a very large community I've become aware of this ever so much during the campaign as I drive from one end to another. We're talking about the shores of Indian Arm on the one hand, to a location that's very urban, Capilano Road, virtually part of downtown Vancouver. We must, in my view, be very sensitive to the community's requirements, what people want in these different areas. And if your question is, do I think that we as a district should ultimately tell various local communities how they should develop, how they should live, and what they should be as a community? I don't believe that's the case. I think in the end we need to be very, very respectful of the constituent elements of our great North Vancouver district.
Thank you. Next question. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed a wild card. Please go ahead.
I think that answer is very short-sighted. I'm going to give you an example of what's going on in San Jose, California right now. They can't keep teachers. They lose 1 in 7 teachers every year. The school district tried to build a proposal to build affordable housing in a community in San Jose. There were 5,000 people who opposed housing for teachers, and the council supported that. I think sometimes we do need to make hard decisions. And if we're going to have a diverse community we want, and there was reference certainly about newcomers, we're going to have to sometimes accept affordable housing we may not necessarily want it. So I think we have to look at both sides of that.
Thank you. Harris.
Thanks for your patience, and thanks for coming, and thanks for these amazing questions, and thank you for your participation. So, we never said, no, we're not going to build anymore. We're just saying, let's slow down. We speak about responsible development, we mean that this question is not a question. We have to have those teachers in. The question is how to bring them in. And the question is how much you build and how fast you build. But if we make sure that the infrastructure is coming in pace with the development, we will have the teachers, and we will have the workers, and we will have the small businesses, because that's what we need to do. We have to work with the communities. We cannot work against communities. So it has to be a contribution for both sides, but this also means that you guys coming to us later on with all those objections will have to consider everything else as well. So thank you. I think that's all can be done, and we will do that starting Saturday.
Thank you. And a wild card by Mike Little.
Well, I missed out on a question. I gotta get it on somehow. I wanted to point out on my card here that I've circulated to everybody here on the second bullet point on the back. It says, we're building too much too fast. We need to let infrastructure catch up to growth and make sure the housing we're building is the housing we need. It's not just a question about whether you're growing or not growing. It's about making sure that what you're producing is actually helping you out. And that statement is that we're tearing down a whole bunch of 3- and 4-bedroom, low-cost due to age purpose-built rentals, and we're replacing them with studio and 1-bedroom premium units in our community, and we're doing far too much of it. And I think we're getting a lot of cash on the front end. We have an amenity contribution of $11 million coming from a project on Mountain Highway. But in the long run, we're eroding our ability to look after our families. And so, once again, it's not a no-growth position. It's one where we're simply looking strategically and making sure we're looking out for ourselves in the long run. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Seeing no wild cards, last question of the night.
Good evening. My name is Mauro Chiesa. I've been a resident of the North Shore since 1961, except for a 30-year period where I was a banker in New York and Washington, D.C., focusing on infrastructure. I see 160,000 people on the North Shore. Why not have one mayor, one council who can speak with one plan? And why not petition Victoria for a referendum on this very issue? Mr. Little?
Thank you so much for the question. I support amalgamation in our community, and I've been making the case for cooperation all the way through. I find it absolutely infuriating that we have conflicting priorities for transportation infrastructure. The province and the district worked together to widen Keith Road as an east-west. We thought we had an agreement with the city of North Vancouver, and instead they went to narrow Keith Road as soon as you cross over to the city of North Vancouver, forcing traffic down to Queensbury and up Grand Boulevard. In 2005, the community charter was changed to make it so that the provincial government wasn't going to interfere and force these referendums, but you can, there are under certain circumstances, have the Minister of Communities say, you're going to do it, you're going to have a referendum. It's going to take place. You can have the exact same worded referendum in both municipalities at the exact same time. But it takes pressure from us. This last council identified that over 70% of the community actually support studying it, and including city residents. And so I think it is something that we just have to keep the pressure up on. But the way to get it is actually to be diligent about our spending in the District of North Vancouver and keep our taxes down below the of the city. We're actually slightly below them right now, but we need to widen that gap to get their support. Thank you.
Thank you. I see 2 wild cards, and then I'm going to cut it off. So Mark, and then Samir.
The reasons for separation happened in North Vancouver back in the early 1900s, and the reasons for it have long since disappeared. The advantages to be had are not necessarily financial, because most of the municipalities that have merged, there hasn't been a lot of cost savings. Toronto is a perfect example. But the fact is, you can get efficiencies, and you should be all planning as one. We all share the same space. Everything's, a lot of stuff that starts in this district winds up in the city. And so the reasons for that disappeared a long time ago. The stumbling blocks from what I understand are not necessarily the residents of the city of North Vancouver. It's either council or staff in the city. So hopefully some different people will get elected there, and hopefully some things will change. All North Van City Council, some are in favor of it, but let's hope that some other ones get elected as well.
And then the last minute goes to Samir.
That's a great question. I think a lot of people are in support of it. If somebody were to ask you where you're from, I can't ask all of you, but I'll answer that question from my perspective. Somebody asked me where I'm from. I'm from North Van. North Van is my home. I'm born here, raised here, I live here. I'm not from the district of North Van. I'm not from the city of North Van, wherever or whatever it may be. I'm from North Van. So let's keep it as North Van, and let's make it North Van. I'm in support of amalgamation, want to see what, there'll be a short-term cost to it, long-term, there'll be a lot of benefits. Our North Van Rec Commission is already all over North Van. Our school board district is North Van. So let's make the city and the district North Van. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, just a very brief closing remark for me before we say goodbye for the evening. Just want to say civic dialogue is a precious, precious thing. And I just wanted to thank all of you tonight for participating in civil, informed civic dialogue. It's so important for our democracy. And thank you so much to the candidates for putting themselves out there. Questions we were going to ask. I knew there might be a couple of losers. And so thank you so much for volunteering your time and serving the community. I would also like to thank the Edgemont and Upper Capilano Community Association for organizing this event, and to the Highlands United Church for hosting. I would just encourage everybody, before you go, please take anything you brought with you out with you. Please take any little pamphlets or pieces of paper or drinks or whatever you have. It'll make it so much easier for here at the church. Thank you, everybody. Good night.